Just a couple bad weather fans representing New York, talking all things sports. Man, what could go wrong? We got Alex, who's a fan of the Knicks, and Mike of the Nets. The yin-yang of the tri-state, place your bets on the Yankees, Giants, Mets, or Jets. Yeah, you should listen if they're sparking your interest. If you made a vow to your team, don't break it. Bad weather fans is the relation.
That's right. This is Bad Weather Fans, episode number 155. Mike Biseglia, Alex Benezowitz. Brooklyn Nets defeat the New York Knicks on Saturday night, 122-115. That's 9 straight W's for the Nets versus the Knicks. Kind of crazy. We've been doing this show for a couple of years. Knicks, their 2-game winning streak comes to an end. The Nets, their 2-game losing streak comes to an end. But most importantly, Alex, good to have you back on the podcast. The love was felt and missed for you, and it's good to see your face here on Bad Weather Fans.
Yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to have some normalcy. As some of you might know, my mother passed away last week at 71 years young. May she rest in peace. I'll miss her a lot. It was a tough week and a half of her being in the hospital and then passing away. And, it's good to be back doing this. Currently still sitting Shiva, but, I'm, getting through it day by day. It's been really tough, but it's good to be here. It's good to see you. It's good to talk to you again. It's good to talk some sports and get back to normal a little bit here. So what's going on?
It's good to have you. I can tell you that the love was felt. I had a lot of people reach out to me that maybe don't know you personally, but have listened to the show. I could say all of our hearts go out to Alex. And
yes, thank you. And sorry to one real quick. I posted something on Twitter and told people because people were DMing me or texting me like, where have you been? Are you okay? Are you alive? So I put it out that my mom passed away on Twitter, and the amount of people that responded and liked it and DM'd me personally, people that I didn't even like, we weren't even quote unquote friends on Twitter, or now, we're now cool. And it was just really, really shocking to see how many people really said, nice things about me and my mom and everything. And, people I don't even know, even, from a hole in the wall, just Twitter people. And that was really great. It just shows that it's just sports when you talk crap, and people cross lines and stuff like that all the time. But it's, overall, if you're just talking basketball or any football, baseball, whatever it is, it's never that serious. So don't take it that serious. And I appreciate it. Everybody who reached out.
No, that's cool to hear. I always tell that to people too. I'm like, well, Alex and I have a very distinct difference in the teams that we like basketball wise. Obviously, very passionate in our feelings towards, you towards the Knicks, me towards the Nets. But I always tell people that doesn't, mean it's not like you're in World War II and things are going. It's just basketball. Yeah. It's just a stupid two teams that are within 8 miles of each other. So that doesn't dictate other stuff. I always have to tell people that. So it always gives me a good laugh. And Saturday night, Nets get the job done. They get the win versus the Knicks again. And you had texted me prior to the game. And if you're going to bet with DraftKings, use promo code BWF. Yes. But you texted me beforehand. You said, what did you say? Basically something to the lines of Knicks are due. I was going to bet on them, but I didn't do it at the last second.
Yeah, it was one of those. I was like, well, eventually, the gambler in you is always like, well, if the streak is that long, eventually they're going to lose. Eventually they're going to lose. Eventually they're going to lose. So I thought about that, and with Durant out and whatever, and I was just like, you know what? Nah. Because all I've been doing in this time in the last 2 weeks is been watching sports. We've been sitting around and just waiting and grieving, and it's just. Sports has been a great outlet. So I've been watching everything. I've just been off Twitter and I can't deal with that right now. But I've been able to just watch everything and be involved in, sort of like when I was a kid, of just being able to, watch with not having to respond to people or talk to random people about it. So that was nice. And it was weird, man, watching that game, because you just expected them to lose as the Knicks to lose as the game was going on because of all the situation. I'm glad I didn't bet on it, but I did in the fourth quarter when the Knicks were making a comeback, bet the Knicks with the points at 6.5. And then right at the last second, I cashed out and I lost like 1 cent, which was good because the Nets ended up winning by, I think, 7, and because they fouled at the end for like no reason. And I was like, let me cash out real quick, because, Steph Curry's not missing 2 free throws. So, I was, happy with that. So, yeah, it's just insane. Everybody talks about the Knicks own New York, and Robin Lundberg put out a tweet I saw. It's like the Nets, whatever he said exactly, I'll paraphrase, is just like, yeah, the Nets, you might not own New York, but they own the Knicks, kind of a thing. And it's true. You can't argue about that right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I thought the Nets, and this was a sentiment felt by a lot of Net fans, that I talk to, reach out to. Basically, the Nets coming off a terrible game versus the Pistons, where they didn't show up. The Sixer loss, it was after beating the Warriors in Golden State. They go into Philly and they play really well. They're tied with like 2 minutes left. They're hanging in this game. This is without Durant, of course. And the Sixers right now are the hottest team in the NBA. So you go into Philly, Harden saves them. You're like, okay, they lost the game, but you understand it. And you're like, this is okay. No Durant. You're playing good basketball. You almost get one in Philly. Then you come home and you complete shit show versus the Pistons. So you go into this Knick game where the Knicks are coming off their best win of the season, where they're in Boston getting a W. So you're thinking the stars have aligned, but no, it's the Nets definitely, I would say, and I think this is true. I think their players have an edge. And if it's Durant playing without Kyrie or Kyrie playing without Durant, it's important for them to beat the Knicks. It really is. And I think you've seen Kyrie with maybe, top 5 effort of the season. I'd say effort, but performance of the season, where in that fourth quarter, he really dominated the Knicks. I mean, he was hitting wild shots. He was doing anything that he wanted, and he helped them because the Knicks were coming back. They made a little bit of a run, and they got this thing within 3 at one point, and Kyrie saved the day. Early on, though, I'm super excited too, Alex, by the way, because we'll talk about Nets, and I could talk about domination of the Knicks, and it's more of a relief for me when it happens, and I love it. I fucking love it. I'm not going to lie. I won't sugarcoat it. People are like, it's your championship. Yeah, it is. At this point,
for now,
the Nets have done. If I'm going to look back at the KD Kyrie era, and everybody's going to be like, well, you didn't win a title, I'm going to go, you're right. But at least we never lost to the Knicks. Literally, never lost to the Knicks. That's what I'm going to have to take from it. It's just dominance over the other team in the area. But I was fascinated, Alex. I'm not going to lie. Fascinated with Tom Thibodeau rotations. Fascinated.
Now you see it. Yeah, you see it.
I don't understand for the life of me why Brunson and Randall can't have to be on the court at the same time. And this was the crucial error for the Knicks. When they cut it to 7 going into the fourth quarter, Kyrie had his rest. So he came in the fourth quarter to start the fourth. There was no Brunson. There was no Randall, and Kyrie took over. And that was a critical mistake for the Knicks.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also see there was no adjustments. Like, why are you not doubling Kyrie? Why are you not in the game?
Major mistake. All teams do that, by the way. When Durant's out, they all double Kyrie. Make Royce O'Neal, make Utah Watanabe, make these other guys beat you. And they just left him alone. It was wild. Yeah.
There's no adjustments. There's the rotations are crazy. Obi Toppin can hit a couple threes and then you never see him again. Quentin Grimes can't hit an open 3 if his life depended on it all of a sudden. And and there's no adjustments and there's no offensive plan, no game plan, no scheme. I've been watching all these games with my dad. He loves basketball, but he doesn't follow, the NBA as close, but he knows everything. He knows the players and stuff, but he's not like into it like us.
Right.
And then I was also watching with my father-in-law, and they both know basketball, and we're watching the games, and they're like, the Knicks don't do anything. They just like drive and kick. Like that's all they do. Try to shoot a 3. Like there's no screens. It's rare. There's like a set play. It's just, I know we're not in college, but like do something. Try to throw the defense off. It's just, we used to complain back in the day at like every play when Amari was on the team, every play was a pick and roll with Amari Stoudemire, pick and roll Amari Stoudemire, pick and roll Amari Stoudemire. At least they're running a play. You know what I mean? At least do something, move the defense, try to get them to switch, do something, get a mismatch. Now it's just like Julius Randle is just, he's putting up big numbers and he looks great on paper, but there's always these bonehead plays he makes at the end of games, a bad pass, a bad foul, a bad turnover. He's just hollow stats, and it's just it's infuriating because their record looks good on paper, but you know what? They're not going anywhere, and they're exactly what we thought they are. What are they, the 7th seed right now? And it's just
7th seed.
Yeah, it's just it's what are we're spinning our wheels and we're not even playing players that need to play, and Immanuel Quickley is crushing it, and it just makes you think, like, why wasn't he playing last year over Alec Burks? I know he got his minutes, but you should have just given the keys to Quickley and seen what happened. The season was toast last year anyway, but instead you're starting a shooting guard as point guard, and those Thibs decisions overall, to get back to your greater point, is just those are the things that drive Knicks fans crazy. And it's just, what are we doing here? What are we trying to prove? So, and then you don't play certain players that should play, like Obi. I know McBride, who tried to dunk it on Claxton and got blocked. That was, he was trying to be, get a highlight on ABC. Deuce McBride. I've never seen him go up like
none of that shit. He's like, no.
He's like, who do you think you are? Yeah.
That was great. I wish that play was, the frustrating part of that play was it could have been something even more special, because the Nets went down and had a fast break opportunity to give him a lob, but it didn't work out. So it ended up being back to the Knicks ball. But yeah, I love what I saw from Clax there on McBride. And I just found it fascinating watching the Knicks rotations. It's a little different when they're playing the Nets, and I'm really taking note of like every specific thing that's happening. And I'm beyond engaged, of course, watching this and watching my team, as I'm trying to watch the Nets get this win, make it, 9 straight versus the Knicks. And for the Nets needing to get a win in the most important way to improve now to 3-6 with Kyrie Irving leading the way. But I found it interesting, and somebody we've talked to and have been trying to get on the show is Justin Termini. He's with Sirius XM. He does their afternoon NBA show, and I think he's wildly talented and wildly fascinating, wildly interesting guy to hear from. Love to have him on. He's been hypercritical of Kyrie Irving. I think Justin's a Celtics fan, so I think there's a little bit of that deep-rooted disagreements with Kyrie on
disapproval.
Disapproval is the word. Thank you. From that, I have to say, during this streak when Kevin Durant's been out, Kyrie Irving has not been the reason they've lost games. He has been sensational. It goes on to other parts of this Nets team that have been the problem when they're down. It's been the lack of effort, and it's been, let's talk about the number one problem for the Nets right now is Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons didn't play in that game, and I know some Knicks fans were happy because they were like, well, Ben Simmons hasn't lost to the Knicks in, 15, 16 games? But the way he's been playing, it's an alarm bell where you have Net fans now basically saying, we'll trade Ben Simmons for anything. Ben Simmons is not getting traded. He makes $35 million a year, and he's at his lowest point. So nobody's going to want Ben Simmons, okay? He's not getting dealt. Yeah, if the Nets are going to have any sort of chance here, he's got to play better. And I said that he's going to play a lot better. And I said this when Durant went out. This is his time to pick it up, because when KD was in and Kyrie was in, they were 18-2 and they were cooking, and they could hide him as the 5th best player on the 6th best player on this team because the other guys were so great. You can't hide him without Kevin Durant. He has to show up. And a guy like Nick Claxton has emerged now as their 3rd best player, and it's not even a close to Ben Simmons. Nick has come up. He's played great, while Ben Simmons has gone to hide. And, I could see how Sixers fans despise him. He is beyond talented. He is so strong, so fast, but he does things on the court where he is so passive, like Edmund Sumner, 6 foot nothing. I should say that I'm 5'8" and probably way more.
NBA standards.
NBA standards. Here's Edmund Sumner, no fear going to the basket, doesn't care. And you're like, Ben, if you could have a shred of that kind of intensity, you could be an all NBA player. And it's been frustrating to watch. And I have to be honest, Alex, when he said he was out versus the Knicks, I was relieved. I didn't want to see him out there. I thought it gave the Nets a better chance to win in this moment. And, I don't know what would have happened if Ben was there, but Nets definitely looked better without him on the court, maybe a little bit more relaxed overall.
Yeah, it was getting a little weird from, excuse me, it was getting a little weird from an outsider's perspective where Nets fans were almost celebrating, or just people who are supporting Ben Simmons, when he's like 7, when he would have a line of like 7, 8, and 5. It's just like, this guy's making $30 million. You know what I mean? He's got to do better than that. And I know he does a lot more like the intangibles and the things that don't show up on the stat sheet. And you were loving him for a while, and I understand, but he needs to really get his stuff together because he's still mentally not there, man.
No,
Because he
not even
drives to the
close.
hoop. He drives
Not
to the
even
hoop
close.
and he dishing it at the last second, like
Not even
dunk it,
close.
man. Like you're
Not even
6'10".
close.
Like, what are you doing?
It's
Yeah.
it's not
And
even close. It's bad.
it's
And
been rough.
with
Yeah.
Durant, with Durant there, you can hide and you can have 7, 8, and 7, and you're winning every game. It's okay. But when you're losing and you're putting up 3, 2, and 8,
Yeah.
it's a little bit different. You got to show up a little more, and that's a major concern, for the Nets and their fans as they go into a bigger push. I did feel like at Barclays Center there were more Knicks fans than I have seen in the past. It felt like it was a little louder with Knicks. I don't know if that's a Saturday night thing.
No Durant.
No Durant, and the Knicks playing better basketball. I did feel, Alex, more of a Knick presence at the Barclays Center.
Yeah. It did feel a little bit more that way. But you know what? It didn't matter. At the end of the day, winning the crowd battle doesn't really matter if you're losing, and especially if you're getting crushed every game. Because even now, let's say the Knicks win the next 2 of 3, and then Kyrie is gone, and this era is over for the Nets. The Nets still dominated this era, like you were saying. The KD Durant, it's over. It's unless there's a playoff series, and we'll see how that goes. But
Yeah,
at this point, it's kind of like what I was saying before I was out, where it's the Nets weren't gonna continuously win without Durant. They were losing a lot right away. Would they lose the first 4 or something, right? And then I know they always beat the Knicks like they did last year in the Cam Thomas game, and it's just it's crazy how like this team falls off a cliff whenever Durant is out. It just shows how valuable he is,
Yeah.
And I know Kyrie's playing well, like you were saying, but he's not a guy who can lead, is a number one that can lead your team to several wins and just put you on your back. I mean, it's just not that. It's just not that guy.
Well, this has been a weird dynamic because
Yeah.
I know when we had talked to each other a few episodes back, when he said like, how will the Nets do? And it's been a very up and down one. And they started 0-4 and they had the bad losses, the Celtic loss, the Thunder loss, the Spurs loss, the Suns loss. And it was at the second half of that Suns loss where they were down 20 something points and Kyrie Irving all of a sudden just took over the basketball game and made it close. It was like he wasn't paying attention. He wasn't involved. And then all of a sudden he just snapped into it. And since that point, they've been much better. Now they did have the Pistons loss, but Kyrie has come to play. And they're not going to be great during this stretch without Durant. But I will say, from somebody that's watching the games day in and day out, it is much better than it was last year. It is much, much better than it was. And you saw it. Yuta Watanabe killed the Knicks. He was 3 for 3 from 3. Joe Harris finally got his act together, had a good game. Seth Curry is a good 5th option of scoring. He can't play D, but you get him offensively, he can knock down big shots. Royce O'Neal started the game. Nick Claxton, they are improved overall. So I am really interested to see how they finish off this stretch without Durant. Let's say it ends up being, so they're 3-6 now. Let's say it ends up being another 9 games. If they end up on this streak at something like 10, 8-10, something along those lines, you'd be really happy if they can do that. Clearly, they're not great without him. I think that goes without saying, but it is a little bit better. And I agree with you. Kyrie's not a 1 and somebody that you could have that can lead you all the way. But if he's going to have performances like that, where he's been on fire, and he was what he did versus the Knicks. I mean, you knew when he pulled up for like that 30-foot 3, it just felt like everything he was taking was going in. And I always enjoy asking my final question on the net scaredometer, which is always one of my favorite segments here on Bad Weather Fans.
Yes.
I haven't been on Knicks Spaces in forever. But I wanted to listen to a recap one. Yeah. And I listened to Papa Left, and he had on Jay Smooth, I believe, or they were hosting it together. And they are, sometimes they shit on the Nets more than anybody. And there was one comment about the fan base only having 7 fans, but it took a while to get into it. And there was a defeated feeling like we can't even make those jokes because it's been so goddamn long since we've won. And I had to hear the frustration level, and I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's you have every right to love it, and Knicks fans can't talk right now, and and the Nets haven't won anything substantial, so thankfully for that. And you've only won one more playoff series than we have in this time, and it's fine. But at the end of the day, if you just do head to head, then Nets have the bragging rights, and it just is what it is. And another thing that we can talk about was the Dolan interview on Carton and Roberts.
Yes.
First, Dolan was on, I think it was Fox, and talking about the facial recognition. I don't care about that. Like, I'm not going to go into that. That's your opinion, whatever you feel. I don't blame him for not wanting somebody who's suing him to be at the game. The way he's doing it is a little weird, but it's just, I don't care. It's not worth discussing. Some of the things that he brought up that are interesting that I took notes on was Evan asked him these are all paraphrased. I'm not, not word for word. He goes, do you think Leon Rose has done a good job? And Dolan said, yes, absolutely. And then went on to say different things and how he supports him. Another thing was, is there a timetable when you got to win? Evan said, basically. And he goes, eventually. And right now we're looking toward progress. So there's no, no mandate, but it's sort of a mandate, because he was asking also about, like, he expects his team to make the playoffs. So that's kind of a mandate.
Not Steve Cohen.
Not Steve Cohen, where we need to win right away.
Yeah.
And then the last thing was, Craig asked, would the old you have forced the Knicks to trade for Donovan Mitchell? He goes, not in the last 10 years. So basically he's saying, yes, the old me would have. And he's also admitting something that he's denied in the past, that he forced the Carmelo Anthony trade, forced Donnie Walsh to make the Carmelo Anthony trade, which is something that Donnie Walsh has come out and said it wasn't true. He's just supporting Dolan, and Dolan said it wasn't true. And so it was true. He did force the Carmelo Anthony trade and made him make the trade and give up more picks and hurt the Knicks' future and killed a couple of years and gave Phil Jackson basically no chance to succeed, even though Phil Jackson had his faults. He had no draft picks, and the one draft pick he did have, he got Porzingis, which ended up being a good asset that helped the franchise. So it's give and take here. Dolan is not giving a playoff mandate, but he sort of is. So maybe if the Knicks don't make the playoffs, something might happen. But he supports Leon Rose, and he has to say that, of course. But
yeah,
it's just like a big, like, nothing. It was a great interview and very entertaining. On Carton and Roberts on WFAN. You could check it out on podcast apps or on Odyssey app. But I don't know, man. It wasn't very inspiring where I'm like, yes, let's go. Rah, rah. Yeah. Now we got this. It was just like, all right, whatever.
He's not that kind of guy to begin with, Dolan, and he stumbled upon his words, and he did fine for himself. But usually he stumbles. He can't get out of his own way. But I take away from that, I don't think he really cares about winning a title. I mean, I think he would love it because he'd make a lot of money, and I think he'd be into it, and it'd be great. But I don't think it's on his priority list.
He's a fan, yeah.
To use a comment from Dolan J. Trump, make the Knicks great again. I don't think he really cares that much. Like, I think he's really happy with where they are right now because they're stable. They're a couple games over 500. They've got some good wins. They're playing good basketball. They're clearly going to be, well, you never know what's going to happen in the NBA. Is not that much difference, but they're clearly in a fight for the playoff spot. They've played good basketball. I think he doesn't really ultimately care. Like, to me, I think he's more concerned. It's like when the Nets got the stars and Durant and Kyrie Irving, I think that bothered him more than anything. I don't think like that to him because he's so petty. That bothered him, that he had to deal with the Nets. But he knows deep down it's the Knicks, and he's got whatever he wants. I don't think that it's such, like I said before, the Knicks were coming from such a rock bottom spot. I know they've made the playoffs in the last couple times in the last 2 decades. I won't get that incorrect. But I think the standard of like 30 and 52 every year, now this team is, going to win between 40 and 46 games, somewhere in that range. They're going to fight for a playoff spot. And I think he knows that they've just stabilized where he can buy himself more time. I think, if I was a Knicks fan, I was looking at it, I'd be like, well, where is the future going? What is next steps? Obi Toppin is a bust as of right now. He's another Knick first round
because he hasn't had a chance. Because he hasn't had a chance.
How you want to get there,
right? It's true.
But he's he's in his third year in the league, and he doesn't play. That's a bust. I mean, when you're a lottery pick, that's a bust. He's not done enough to warrant a contract extension. Who knows where he's going? Who knows? And I get fascinated too because, like, RJ Barrett to me he had a weird game versus the Nets because when they went to him in the post and they had Joe Harris on him, couldn't stop him. Hit a couple of open threes, had a decent game, but it was like fourth quarter disappears, and
They don't even pass it to him.
No
It's
lack
not even.
of, it was almost like what is his role for the Knicks? And it was odd. It was just an odd feeling watching because he led them in scoring, but you would never have thought he did.
Yeah. And you see what the Knicks fans have been frustrated about, and the ones that want, the future and want RJ Barrett to succeed. And yeah, he's probably not a star. Like I got excited last year when he was crushing it, but you know what? It's just, and he hits these big shots. He gets a chance, but I feel like there's too many ball handlers. Like this is what I've been saying all year. There's too many ball handlers on this team, and this team doesn't make sense. You got Brunson needs the ball, Randall needs the ball, and Barrett needs the ball. And Barrett's not that kind of guy to demand it, and he was last year, and that's why I was getting excited. Like, oh, he's like, give me the fucking ball. Right now he's not, and that's the problem where he's just like, and maybe that's the coach. Maybe the coach is saying like, it's Brunson, Randall, and then you, Barrett. So it's just it's tough to gauge that. And he did hit the big clutch shot in overtime against the Celtics, but it was a good win. But they also blew a 12-point lead in the fourth quarter, and I don't want to hear about how every team blows leads, because that's not it doesn't matter. I don't care what every team does. If everybody jumps off a bridge, are you going to jump off too? It's just it's so stupid, that kind of theory. And it also is frustrating because the Knicks blew a 12-point lead in the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter. The Celtics ended up sending it into overtime. They hit the big shot. RJ hits a big shot. A lot of stuff happened in between then, but RJ hits the big three, and then up by, I think, one, and then Jaylen Brown misses 2 free throws, and the Knicks win. So the Knicks sort of like backed into that win. And you take the wins however you can get it. But I mean, it wasn't like, they stepped on their throats and just won the game. You know what I mean? Or made the big plays to win. They got kind of fortunate. And then you show up with the Nets in the big game at the, versus your crosstown rival, night. And then you lay an egg. It's just like, come on, man. I don't know.
That beginning for first quarter for the Knicks. I mean, they came out with no energy in that second quarter, and you can see their deficiencies on their bench. It's a major problem. I mean, their bench is bad. They don't have a good bench, especially with Mitchell Robinson out. It really depletes.
They don't play their bench.
Center position. You don't see it depletes them at the center position because Jericho Sims, he does a lot of the other things. He can rebound, he can block shots. He's a big body, but he can do nothing offensively. So the Nets scheme defensively versus Randall was really good. So credit to Jacques Vaughn, who's been excellent. They put Royce O'Neal on Randall, and O'Neal did a good job, the best he could, bodying him, bumping him. Randall's got more strength and size. But Nick Claxton didn't have to defend Jericho Sims. So he basically would just shadow wherever Randall would go, and he would take that away and make Randall have to take these difficult shots. And when Randall wasn't making his three-pointers, it really changed the way he could play with Nick Claxton kind of bumping off and coming to give help. And without another force inside, Jericho Sims, he could lay off it. And it did account for a couple offensive rebounds for him. But that was the Nets scheme. And it really worked. And I was excited for you to see Nick Claxton play in that game because of how much he's progressed. And you can see the things that he can do that's special defensively. He can block shots. He can rotate over. But also, when they put him in pick and rolls, when they did, he was on Jalen Brunson numerous times one-on-one. Brunson had one shot he made in the fourth quarter where he faded to his right. It bounced off the rim a couple times. But you can see Nick Claxton, when you can switch defensively, he gives the Nets a lot of extra effort. I think what the Nets thought they were going to have in Ben Simmons, Nick Claxton is able to do that defensively. And he was a force versus the Knicks, and had a career high with 6 assists.
Yeah. Claxton is good, man. And I, going into the season, I was like, how are the Nets going to survive without getting another body and just relying on Claxton? And they probably do need another body, like a big man.
They still do.
But him being potentially the defensive player of the year, or in the conversation, has really, really saved the Nets. I mean, it really has. Maybe they knew he was going to take a step, so that you give him credit. I mean, they know him better than anybody else. So sure. I mean, you definitely can give the Nets credit for that. And I don't want to. And he's been great, man. And there's a lot of trade rumors out there and things that are going on. So we'll see what happens. The trade deadline's coming up. A lot of the Knicks are now linked to OG Anunoby, which is weird. How? Why the Knicks? I don't know why. I mean, it's legit reporters are saying it. So, I believe it. I believe there's some smoke there, but what are the Knicks trading to the Raptors? Why would they want to mess with Ujiri again? Like, what are we like? why would the Knicks want to help the Raptors if he's not happy? Why would the Raptors want to help the Knicks? It's just, then I'm going to see Obi Toppin in Toronto being Vince Carter. You know what I mean?
Stop.
I don't want to see that. You know what I mean? Not like, that level of player, but just, you know what I'm saying? Just like, I'm so nervous about Obi Toppin being on another team without him getting a fair shot here. And because I see the flashes are there. I'm not saying he's Sean Marion. I'm not saying he's Vince Carter like other people. I'm making a joke there, but I do think he's a good player. I do think that he can play, and he just has no confidence on the court because he knows he's in for like 10 minutes and he's just like, let me do everything I can in this time. And maybe when he plays and he's relaxed, he averages over 20 points a game. Like the stats are there. You can Google it. When he plays over 30 minutes a game, 20, 25 points a game, whatever it is, about exactly. And it's just, it drives me crazy. It's just, what are we doing here? And to trade for somebody like OG, like, he doesn't put us over the top. He's a very, very, very good player. Don't get me wrong, borderline all-star. But you're going to add him. What are you trading, first of all? Number two, is a team, let's say you're going to keep RJ, you're going to keep Randall, you're going to keep Brunson. So then you add OG to that. What does that do for you? What does that lead you to? Are you going to win another 5 games and then you're still not going to win a championship? So like, the goal here goes back to the Dolan thing. When are we trying to win? When are the Knicks trying to win a title? I am so tired of this. 2 years ago, it was fun because we hadn't had anything in so long, and you never knew about Randall. You thought he was turning the corner. It was going to be the next star, and maybe he finally found the home. That's not true. So now it's just, what is the goal? You have an old coach. You got a roster that doesn't make sense. It's just, we're going to be average. We're exactly what we thought they would. They're exactly what we thought they'd be. And when is that title? What is the road to that? And I don't see it. And OG is not that next step unless it's a big package we don't see coming and there's multiple teams involved and something happens.
Yeah, and somebody's got to tell me, because I don't watch enough Toronto Raptors basketball, but somebody's got to tell me how they don't win more games. They are extremely talented. Yeah. They've got so many good young players. Somebody has to tell me when,
great
like,
coach.
Like, it's going to take 4 first-round picks to give me OG on an Obi. I'm like, well, why is this team 22 and 28? When they are extremely talented, they're well coached. Like, somebody,
Scotty Barnes started off really slow. Barnes started off slow. Yeah,
you got Barnes, Siakam, Van Vliet. I mean, they've got guys. So I'm curious how they're not winning more games. I'm not sitting here watching all these Toronto games, so I'm unsure about that and unclear. But from the Knick angle, I'll do this real brief, but you can see how they would have benefited from having Donovan Mitchell. But everybody wants to, get so protective over the first round draft picks, and they would have lost 3 or 4 more of them. But you're telling me if you had a team of Barrett not Barrett, but you had Randall and you had Donovan Mitchell and you had this young core with Brunson, that, it's funny watching Quentin Grimes play, because I know that coach loves his defense. I mean, he couldn't stop Kyrie Irving to save his life, which is difficult to do, but he didn't.
Nobody can. Yeah.
And he's going to be a 3-and-D guy, and he's made 1 3, I think, that he had at some point, which was a big one, but that was it. He was unimpressive in that game. The Knicks in a weird position, and I don't know how you make them better. I don't know what you would do at the deadline. And back to your original point about Obi Toppin, I do think that if he got selected to a better organization that was ready to use, and I don't say better organization because the Knicks are a shit show in that regard, but if at that standpoint, he went to a team where he got minutes and he played, I think he would be a good NBA player. Now, I don't think he's going to be Tyrese Halliburton, and I think for the Knicks, that draft pick, more than any of them, will loom to hurt them the most. And I know everybody always has the thing like, these other teams didn't take him. These other teams didn't take him. The Knicks needed a point guard. They didn't take him. They went with Obi, and I think their big mistake was they wanted a guy that was a little more NBA ready. They didn't think Julius Randle was going to succeed like he did. He did. Coach Thibs and the fit has just not worked, where Obi doesn't even get any kind of run right now. Now, if Tyrese Halliburton is the point guard for the Knicks, Jalen Brunson's probably not here, but it's a whole different trajectory for where the Knicks are going, and it looks a lot different, I'm sure. But Obi is now just stuck behind Randall. I don't know if what we saw last year from Obi Toppin, where he scored 102 points versus the Raptors to end the season, I say that tongue in cheek, but he did start to play good basketball towards the end of the year. There's no denying that he was good. I think his confidence has to be completely shot. He has no vibe of when he's going to play, not going to play. Basically, he's become the guy that takes Randall's minutes to start the second and to start the fourth, and then it's over. You'll never see him again. I appreciate Jacques Vaughn so much more as a coach from two things. One, Steve Nash being a disaster. We've seen Vaughn not scared about rotations, not scared about mixing and going with his guts and his feeling. And it worked out very well for the Nets versus the Knicks, as guys like Edmund Sumner and different role players really helped out, although Cam Thomas is a disaster. You see the difference there, and you see Thibs stuck in his ways. He's got, to me, a lot of Nash in him, where he just goes with these set rotations, not on feel, seeing just the same thing there. And I feel bad for Obi Toppin. I'm not a Knicks fan, so I don't feel bad for the Knicks or their fans. But as a human being, for Obi, I think is somebody that probably, I'm not going to say is, like you said, going to be the next Sean Marion. I don't know what his ceiling would have been, but for him, I think as much as he says, I'm the New York guy, I grew up, there's the cute pictures of him as a Knicks fan at 9 years old. But like, even me, if I'm a Net fan as a little kid, I'm in the Net organization and I don't play, at some point he's got to be like, living a childhood dream, but I want to be a successful pro. And I think for him, there'd be a lot of relief if he was traded or went somewhere else.
Yeah, look at Stephon Marbury. He grew up a Knicks fan, and he died to be a Knick his whole career. And then he finally got to the Knicks, and we saw how that worked out. It doesn't matter where you're from. Once you're in the NBA, it's about your money. I mean, listen, he has a small window, especially that he's older. He needs to get his contract, and he might not get more than that. And it's frustrating where the Knicks are right now. Like we'll go back, it's a great point when you talked about Obi and a lot of these players, the Knicks didn't want to trade, and then you don't want to trade them for Donovan Mitchell, and then you don't play them. I know they're playing Deuce now. They're playing Quickley, who I love. Quickley is probably my favorite player on the Knicks again. Now, I was texting you that, not again, so nobody heard that but you. And I love Quickley. I love Robinson. I love Barrett. Those are my favorite players on the team. But Quickley is just, he's my guy, man. He just plays with so much spunk. He just is
energy,
is not afraid of the moment, the energy, exactly. And the people who are saying though now, well, look at Donovan Mitchell, and the Cavs are only, let's say, 4 games better than them right now. They're like, well, we would have given up all these assets for 4 more games. It's not about just this year, because the Cavs on their roster, they have Donovan Mitchell, they have Darius Garland, they got Mobley, they have a solid 3 guys Jared Allen. I'm sorry, I forgot about him too. Where if they tweak their roster a little bit, they can make a finals run next year, or even this year they can get hot and make a finals run. The Knicks are not. They have no avenue to that. That is the point, and why you get the star when you can get the star. That's the point. And it's just so short-sighted to be like, well, we're good, and we're not watching Alexi Shved and Langston Galloway and, Dan Dickow.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, great. We're not watching these scrubs the Knicks have had in the past. That doesn't mean that we're supposed to be okay with, this crap and be like, oh, well, yay, go team. Yeah, I'm rooting for them when I'm watching them, of course. But the passion's not really there, because I know that this team is not going anywhere and there's no avenue to go somewhere. At least you got to give me something where I'm going up the mountain. Right now I'm just like at the top or like at a plateau. Yeah. And I'm just so tired of it. I'm tired of the nonsense, and it's just frustrating, man.
Yeah, no, it must be. It's funny because you and I are at frustrating points with our teams, but it's very different. For the Nets, it's Durant's hurt. Can Kyrie Irving lead? Ben Simmons isn't playing up to his potential, but I think at least for me, and I know you don't see it this way, but at least for me, see an avenue where they have an opportunity, and we'll see what happens to the playoffs. The East is so fucking loaded that the Sixers are playing their best basketball of the year, which is so frustrating. The Celtics at the top of the East, the Bucks are going to get healthy. You mentioned the Cavs, the Heat are starting to win basketball games. I mean, the East is just so good that it's a scary proposition as a Net fan. But it's just tread water for them until they get Durant back and see what happens. But at least from my perspective, I'm like, I at least have this season have hope. You don't have hope to win a title.
Yes.
And there's at least hope. And it might be false hope, but at least there is a speckle.
But there's a chance.
There's a chance. And I just have to, fall back on that and think of that. And there's so many things have to go right for this team for even that hope to become a reality. But at least there is a hope. You look at the Knicks, and there's no hope to win a title. And I don't know where they're going. To me, like, it'll be really interesting to see what the Knicks do next season. Okay. Like, let's play this game hypothetical for a second. RJ Barrett gets a little bit better. Julius Randle now on the final year of his deal, right? Or is he in the final year of his deal now?
No, he's got more years.
He's got one
I think
more
his
year
deal
left.
just kicked in.
You're
Yeah.
right. So he's there, Brunson back, but then does Deuce McBride get better? Does all this stuff happen? Does Quentin Grimes continue to excel?
Quentin
What
Grimes,
are these draft picks? Like if they don't work out, you talk about purgatory. I mean, you're in serious purgatory if all that money's given up and that's your ceiling. Then you've got some major problems on your hand. And like you talked about from that Dolan interview, I don't think he really cares about winning a title. I wonder if James Dolan, after a bad Knick loss, is sitting there like Knick fans just stewing. I wonder because
I do think he cares. He definitely cares. He definitely cares.
Do you think he's embarrassed that he can't beat the Nets?
I think it's embarrassing, and I think he made a point on the Carton Roberts interview to say he's never been to the Barclays Center. He made a point to say that I've never been. Like I think he doesn't like the Nets. I think he was embarrassed when Durant and Kyrie went there for whatever reason that they chose it. They did, and it's just I think that he didn't like that at all. But I do think that it's to your point earlier that he was tired of the tanking and the bad teams that were awful. I'm sure that was embarrassing, but I think a team now that is respectable on paper, that people can show up and watch a good game and have a chance to win, because they have a chance to win almost every game. It's just that's what he cares about more than winning a championship, and that's what's frustrating. And it's frustrating as a fan. And I wanted to hear more of a direct question, like, do you actually care about winning or do you not? And it's good but the interview was great overall. And we brought up Quentin Grimes, and a lot of Knick fans love Quentin Grimes, and he's great defensively, and I do like that. And he's got an awesome first step, and he's so quick, but he can't hit an open three. This guy's averaging 10 points and 3 rebounds and 2 assists. And what is so special about this guy? You know what I mean? Like, he's a good player, and he's obviously he can get better. He's very young, and he's a second round pick, late first, whatever it was, and late first round pick. But what is so great about him? You know what I mean? Why are we like so obsessed with him? I
don't know. It's funny watching, because I look back at the Knicks Summer League when some of these guys were putting up like, 40 points, 35 points in like the hype meter. I'm like, look, remember who they're playing. I just thought was really interesting now going to these games where you're seeing an NBA, level activity, how different it is. I will give Leon Rose credit where he's been most successful is his late round picks have all been really good.
Right.
He's done a good job in the late round picks. The only time one of the few times in that Knick game I got really frustrated, it was two specifically. It was the top of the key threes from Quickley because the Nets went under the screens. And I'm like, why are we? I know he's 2 feet beyond the 3-point line, but
he's going to shoot that.
You can't give Quickley space up there. You got to make him do something else. And both times I turned my head down. I'm like, that shot's going in. I knew it. Those 2 plays frustrated me. I'll give Leon Rose credit. He's done a nice job with his late round picks, but he has made a lot of mistakes along the way to get there. He set the organization back with his free agency with Noel, re-signing Noel. He did end up trading him, re-signing Burks. The deal where he, obviously the Kemba thing, and now one of the worst contracts in the NBA, sitting on his bench in Evan Fournier. He's made a lot of mistakes along the way that have punished him and punished the Knicks. That is a big problem there. He's done some good things too. He's been average overall. And you see the mistakes that have happened. Now, go on the net side of things. No TJ Warren in that game. I want to mention as well. The deadline is coming up, Alex. It'll be interesting to see what the Knicks do, what the Nets do. The Nets definitely need more help. I think they're going to be all in. If that means moving Joe Harris, if that means moving Seth Curry, the Nets will make another trade. I would be shocked if they don't at least get some front court help. You talked about it with Nick Claxton before. He's definitely their starting center. He's their guy, but you need somebody that can give them 8 to 10 minutes. That's just a body that can foul so that he can get a rest and the Nets can get some rebounds and size. That's what they need. Hopefully it's a younger player and not somebody that's 45 years old and was really
DeAndre Jordan. You want him back?
No,
DeAndre.
No, please. No, they need something better than that. But some younger athletic forward center that they can plug in for 8 to 10 minutes. And we'll see from there what happens at the trade deadline. Nets Lakers tonight. It's a Monday night. No LeBron James, no Anthony Davis. Lakers taking them off on a Monday on a back-to-back. So we'll see them Tuesday versus the Knicks. This made me giddy with excitement. And I know people, and I know Richard Jefferson had a really profound statement where he talked about God, people like
Loved
he
it.
said,
Yeah.
he said when he was growing up and he went to see his favorite player in David Robinson, I totally respect what he's saying here and totally know where he's coming from, where it's that one game, you earn your money,
Family saved up. Yeah.
Right. That. And I totally respect that and understand that from a winning games perspective. Not having them there helps the Nets win, and that's where I'm coming from looking at this. But I did get a giggle out of the fact that he did go on the rest in the back-to-back because he wants to be at the Garden to do it. If you're going to rest me a game, give me the Knicks on a Tuesday. I don't need to go to Barclays on a Monday, and I couldn't get more of a kick out of that.
Yeah, and that Saturday night game against the Celtics was a barn burner. Forgive the expression.
Oh my God, the amount of stuff
that was a game, man. Yeah, and that was an emotional roller coaster. And LeBron, to his credit, he doesn't miss games, and he must really be tired if he's missing a game. And there's also the speculation of the scoring title of when he wants to break the record, and where I'm sure he knows, because obviously he averages around 25, 30 points a game, so he could plan that out. 150 something points away right now. That's a record, by the way, that everybody should watch and stand up and cheer no matter where you are if he breaks that record, and respect that. Breaking that Kareem record was nearly impossible. And for him to do that, it is incredible. And it's not like the Steph Curry record, where the 3-point record, where all of a sudden everybody cared about it. Nobody cared about it before. This is the record. This is the holy grail of records, the old home run record in baseball. When that used to mean something. This is the scoring champion right now. If LeBron James does this, and he's going to do it, obviously, but this is a record to appreciate. But back to my original point, where it's like, he probably just really needed a breather. And it's not even like, I'd rather play the Knicks at the Garden. It's more of like, all right, I need a rest.
I disagree. I think if he needed a rest, but I think the point is, if he needed a rest day,
he's not going to miss the Garden. Yeah,
he's not going to miss the Garden. And
as
a Net fan, I'm like, if he's going to miss the Nets. I want wins, right? I want wins. I want Nick losses. So that worked out of my benefit to see that.
Yeah.
People hate LeBron James. It's anytime he does something, he's hypocritical on things. LeBron is. So I think people love to see him fail. And now that he's, you have to remember, in retrospect, in this, I should say retrospect, in this moment too, he's 38 years old. He's still doing great things. People are like, he's not a top 10 player anymore. It's oh my God. MJ on the Wizards wasn't a top 50 player. Okay. And it just always,
they couldn't make the playoffs in the worst East. Yeah.
It always just comes back to just wanting to really go after LeBron. And then when they see, what had happened in Boston, where he's fouled and he's acting up on the court after and really upset. And you got Pat Beverly bringing the camera over to the ref, which is just a crazy thing to do after. People really like to see him fail. And, I would say this. Let's say he did break the scoring record in New York. I think the Knicks fan would have the utmost respect for LeBron James and would show it. Now, he's not going to get 100 and whatever points, but I think at least to the Knicks fan credit, they would see greatness and not be petty about it.
For sure. I mean, they did it to Steph Curry, which I thought was a little fugazi. I hated that at the time. It's like, can we relax? We're different. Like, people are like, it's a 3-point record, that could be broken at some point very easily, in this era, where everybody shoots threes.
Yes, it's a different. Yeah, I mean, for LeBron
different class.
James, different. Yeah, it's a 2-part award for LeBron, because you have to be a prolific scorer and you have to have longevity. You have to. You can't just be in the league for 8 years and get that. And LeBron, not known as a scorer per se, can score obviously whenever he wants, but to be the guy that's going to be the all-time record without being known in his career. When you look back at LeBron, you won't say he was a scorer. He was more of an all-around kind of player. I think is even more remarkable to his credit, longevity and just doing it year after year and keeping his body in shape and being able to do this obviously is, as good as it gets for a player.
And and people will be like, well, he came out of the came out of high school. He was 19 and now he's 38, but he's still 38, averaging 36 minutes a game, 35 minutes a game.
Sure.
And it's incredible. And it just also shows how great Kareem was, because he went to college 4 years and won championships in college with John Wooden. I don't think he even lost a game in college, or maybe one or two, and he won the score, and he was a scoring champion. You know what I mean? Sure. It's insane. And LeBron at 38 is averaging 30 points a game, man. It's just 37, 30. What is he? 38-7 right now. As we talk, it's just it's insane. And when it's all said and done, I know I'm not going to do the Michael Jordan versus LeBron thing, but it's going to be closer debates as time goes on of who's the greatest player of all time. When you just look at the resume, and LeBron probably needed another ring, and I know everybody's going to say, well, 6 rings and this and that, but it's and all the finals losses, some of them weren't on him, but like all the finals losses also hurt his resume going against Jordan. But Michael Jordan retired 3 times. And when he was 38 years old, after having some rest seasons, not rest days, he had some rest seasons. He wasn't that great. He had a couple of great moments and scored 40 or 50 here and there, but like the Wizards going to make the playoffs in the worst Eastern Conference of all time. So it's
funny. I think when you go back and if you were to do a LeBron MJ debate, I think the Wizards thing in retrospect hurts him.
They act like that didn't count. Count. Yeah.
Well, I think it's going to hurt him because of LeBron's longevity to see what's the difference between 2 38-year-olds playing in the NBA.
Right.
I think LeBron, as the older version of their prime, not their prime guys, but the older versions of them, LeBron 38 is much better than whatever Jordan was when he retired the last time with the Wizards. Those two guys aren't even comparable in who has the better stance at that age. So I think we'll hurt him when you get into talk show debates and people bring out resumes and things like that. I think that'll hurt him. I personally don't care, who's the better guy. I think we're fortunate enough that you and I, at least, because we're about the same age, we really grew up in an era where we saw, when we were young kids, we saw Jordan in his prime. Then as we got older in high school, at the end, we saw him beat Utah, and then it was over at the very end. And then, you and I go into college, and that's where we start to see LeBron get in. And then in our adult lives, basically side by side, running with LeBron as contemporaries in our age. We're basically all the same age.
Yep.
We really grew up as adults with LeBron. So I think you and I have a really unique perspective of seeing Jordan as kids, Jordan as middle school, high schooly people, into LeBron as adults. That I think really we're the most qualified in the sense of fans. I know we're not players. Don't get on me for that. But as fans and some people that just enjoy and love the NBA, you and I have kind of ridden that where we got the most out of both guys that you really could for anybody that's watching.
Yeah, for sure. And for me personally, as a Knicks fan growing up, I hated Jordan, hated him, hated the Bulls, of course. But the first three-peat, I couldn't stand him, and like growing up, and then the three-peat, I couldn't stand him. But then when he retired and then he came back, I kind of was like, whoa, I need to, like, as a whatever age I was at that point, middle school, high school, I'm like, I need to sit back and appreciate this, because this is the greatest player of all time. And, I kind of respect, I still hated him and wanted him to lose, but I kind of respected him at that point. And, I wear Jordan shoes, I have Jordan pants, Jordan, I wear Jordan I don't care, because it's not like I'm wearing the Chicago Bulls. Jordan is just a brand on his own. It just means it's just greatness, and it's good style, good stuff. You know what I mean? Like, give me a break when people are like, how can the Knicks have a Jordan logo on their jersey? I was like, because they made the fucking jersey. Like, it's not like, not everything is about sports. Sometimes it's just style. And so there's that. But also what bothers me also is that people give Jordan credit for the 2 championships when he wasn't there in between the three-peats. They were like, well, if he played, he would have won 8, but he didn't play, No, he didn't play. And he did play on the second one, and he lost to the Magic. So, and they act like that didn't count. So it's just, there's a lot of, it's not great. LeBron and Jordan are not graded on the same curve, so to speak. And I know we can do this all day, and it's kind of a exhausted debate, and we can't really do it until the end, but LeBron gets this scoring title where he will, if, God forbid he gets hurt. There's there's a lot on LeBron's resume that beats Jordan's. Just put it that way.
Where are you? We'll end the show with this. Where are you on your Nets scaredometer of winning a title? 0 being see ya, 10 being uh-oh.
So I've been at 7, right? I've been at 7. No,
you went down to 6, I think, recently.
When Durant got hurt.
6.5. Big Zoo, who I was with last week, gave it a 5. Although he's more pro net than you, but I guess it's just how you define your scale, I suppose. But yeah, right now, I think you were at a 6.5. You definitely went down since the Durant injury, and that you were hovering around a 7 during the big streak.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stay at a 6 because I don't know when Durant's coming back, and he can come back and be fine. But until he comes back, I'm not going to go up. So, because this team without Durant obviously isn't winning anything. With Durant, I don't think they're going to win, but they can win. So I'm going to stay at a 6 right now. What's yours, by the way? Or is yours always a 0?
I don't do the ratings. I don't do the ratings. I just ask you. I get your perspective on it. I'm just beat the Lakers. Beat the Lakers tonight.
Beat the Lakers. Yeah, exactly. Which they might. By the time you listen to this, they might have already won.
Well, hopefully with no Davis and LeBron, I think the Nets, get ready for the Westbrook Irving show. So it better be.
Well, they lost to the Pistons, right? So you never know.
You just don't. The fucking NBA, man. All right, this has been
it's the regular season NBA.
As Leon the cat has just, he hasn't come on my face. He's been jumping and biting at my ankles, and he is on one this morning.
He's been dancing around. If you're watching on YouTube.
So I apologize to our viewers.
And also, big thank you to Lee Valentin and Big Zoo filling in for me while I was out. I appreciate that, guys. You guys are awesome. So,
yeah, go back in the archives, check out some of our fun interviews. Of course, we've talked to Ron Artest, Meta World Peace, same guy. Kerry Kittles, Tracy McGrady, Chris Childs, Richard Jefferson. Some fun interviews here on Bad Weather Fans. This has been episode 155. Make sure you go check it out on Apple. And if you're I am literally getting little love nibbles from my cat on my leg right now. So trying to do a close. Let me just say this. If you're a podcaster and you're trying to close a fucking podcast with a cat that is attacking you, no, he's not attacking me. So don't get worried, everybody. But it's like he loves me and just wants attention so much. I'm trying to close this thing. Watch it on YouTube. Listen on Apple. Alex, I love you. It's great to have you back. Nets versus the Lakers, Knicks versus the Lakers. Nets have now beaten the Knicks 9 straight times. Hopefully it's 10 on the Monday after the Super Bowl. We'll see what happens. But Alex, great to have you back, man.
All right. Have a good one. Thanks.